There's a large society of returnees, people just walking around attacking you. You don't seem to have distresses. I think it's a fantastic life, and I wouldn't go back to England if I can help it. That I will never grow old in a cold country.
Let's go now. Jamaica. How many times you came to Jamaica before?
Before I live here?
Yeah.
Well, I never came back to Jamaica for 20 years. So after leaving, I came back when my daughter was 1, so my son was 3 at that time. So after 23 years, I came back. And then after that, I came back one other time a few years later. And my father passed away, and then I came down then. And yeah.
You mentioned you bought the land.
Yes, I bought the land about 6 years ago.
Oh, recently?
Recently, I bought the land. I didn't buy the land then, so it was recently I bought the land. After I was made redundant that second time before I went to I bought the land here.
So, did you have an intention to come back to Jamaica when you was young?
Do you know what? I think I spend a lot of time traveling the Caribbean. So most holiday, because I just like hot weather. I've never got used to the cold. Believe it or not, from 11 till God knows how old when I left, I'm not giving my age away. So I'm sure you work it out. I have never ever got used to the cold. So I always said that I will never grow old in a cold country. I mean, that's always been never grow old in a cold country. So as I traveled the Caribbean, I have to say I like a lot of the Caribbean island, and Barbados was one place I like Barbados because it was very British in a sense, and so it's less of a culture shock from what you're used to. It's just with sunshine and nice beaches, isn't it? So I thought that might be a good place to go because, you know, you can relate, so to speak. But then I came here, and I think it's home, isn't it? Jamaica is home. And also I find Jamaica to be so different to the rest of Ireland that there's not much you can get bored with here. There's something different all the time, where some of the islands are small, and once you've been around them, you've been around them, you know. But Jamaica has such a lot to offer. So I decided Jamaica is home, and you know, I know that if I was to come here, it's more versatile. So.
Where's your husband from?
He's British. He's black British.
Black British, yeah. His background, his family background?
Jamaica. Yeah, his parents are Jamaican.
Did you go back to Portland where your granny brought you up?
I've been back to Portland, but I wouldn't live in Portland. I would live in Portland, but probably it wouldn't be my first choice. I love Portland. It's beautiful, beautiful parish, but it's more rural. And having lived abroad, I think it's hard to go back into the rural areas. So I think we chose Ochi because Ochi is more commercialized. You got more of your home comforts here.
Who's we?
Me and my sister initially. So my sister and I decided to come back, so we built together, and that's where it started. So we thought, well, either way, you know, we won't be lonely. Initially, there was friends there, you know, in the background, but because we drove that really, in the sense that we really wanted to come back.
The same sister you fly over with?
Yeah, she was one of them that went over with it. It was 4 of us that went back.
Yeah, together.
Yeah, together. Yeah.
Okay, she was one of them. So, the build finished?
Yes. So the build started about 5 years ago. It took about 3 years to complete, and so it's completed, and we moved down. 4 years ago.
So are you living in Jamaica now, you said?
I am living here now. 4 years.
This Jamaica, everyone talk about the violence and everything. You can't.
A beautiful island. I'm still baffled when I hear this, because I'm not saying there isn't violence somewhere. There are, violence happen, but most of it is gang related, I think. To be honest, I have never ever had any experience like that in Jamaica. I have never. So where people talk about, I don't know how many of them do, they hear these things, and I don't think as a normal person walking on the street anybody's going to come and attack you or anything like that. I drive in my car by myself, by night time, whatever, go home by myself. I was here in Jamaica by myself for a whole year. My husband was still in England, my sister was over in England, so I was here for a year. So, and I've never ever felt intimidated in any way.
So what's life in Jamaica? Shopping?
Life in Jamaica, there's only one, some things that, initially when I just came I could pack up and go back home. And it's nothing to do with the place. It's more about the infrastructure. So the bureaucracy, it's quite, when you're used to something like that, it's hard to stay in a bank all day, and it's hard to fill in several papers over and over again. And I think if anything that is difficult to cope with in Jamaica is just that, is this thing that, some of it is not logical in terms of how things are done here. Some of it are prehistoric, like the post office system is the same as I left it when I was 11, and you wonder why. And I think things like that is quite off-putting. But in terms of beyond that, but then, I put everything online now, so I don't have to stand in the queues, I don't have to go to the bank every day, so I just do everything online. So that cut my stress level right down. So and so apart from that, I think Jamaica is one of the most fantastic places in the whole world. I don't see any place as beautiful as Jamaica, and I've traveled around a bit.
When it was in England?
I tell you, when I used to come down, after the children was a bit older, and I was coming down more often, and I look around and I see returnees here and the life they had, I felt quite jealous. I was thinking, I want some of that, and I've always wanted some of that. And initially you think, well, how do I do it? How do these guys do it? And you don't see a way initially. But, I think once we bought the land, it was easy then once you start building, and some things fall into place, then it's the best decision I've made, and I do not regret it one little bit. Sometimes you curse and go on with yourself with silly things that you see, but it's.
I know you're good with maths and that. So the price of your house, building your house from beginning to the end, to a Manchester house, what's the difference in price?
Well, I think prices have gone up quite a lot in the 5 years that I've been here. So things like material and that have gone up quite a lot. I think for the type of house I have now, is it then in England comparing for this, like for like in terms of size and so on, I think I have a much better deal here. At the time when I built, yes, by far, in terms of what I have for the money that I had. It's a lovely house. I'm quite pleased.
How many bedrooms? Fast, I like the fast people business.
It's 5 bedrooms, and we've got a small annex, like a flat, a self-contained flat, which is separate.
That's good. That's good to know all these things.
Yeah.
Right. So life is nice.
It's excellent.
What about your children? Where are they now at the moment?
Well, all my children are in the UK. So when I came down, I took my son, who was 15 at the time. So he was supposed to live here with me, because at the time I thought he was going in the wrong direction and things, and it was a new start. And so I thought, he has a good life here. And he came here and we started going to school. He started a private school here. Couldn't get him in the public school, which is what I would have preferred. because that's more what he's used to. So he wasn't into the private school thing. So, and I think he was here for 3 months, and then the rest of the siblings, you know, my other 2 children came down, and some of his cousins came to visit. And after they came and went, he wouldn't settle. He just he couldn't settle. He wanted to go back. So after 3 months, he went back, and he lives with my daughter.
Your daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, your daughter a bit older?
Older, yeah. I got my son's the eldest, and then I've daughter in the middle, and then I've got the younger one at 19. No, unfortunately. Yes, my daughter got married in May down here.
Okay.
Yes,
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica, yeah.
Okay.
In May we had our wedding, so that was really good.
Yeah. How's the son-in-law? You like him?
Lovely, he's lovely.
He's lovely.
He's lovely, he's lovely, yes.
And you plan to have kids?
Well, I would imagine so. Yeah, they would like to. I know she wants children. Yeah.
So, how do you survive in Jamaica?
How do I survive in Jamaica? The thing is that I came not to work in Jamaica. I came down just to do the beach, you know, and do coffee and live. So I know we did that for 3 years. I did that for 3 years. You know, we'd just go out every day, go for a drive wherever we end up. You know, it was really nice. And so. I didn't come to work really, but you know the opportunity came. I didn't need to work because throughout my life my jobs gave me a good pension. So you know I have a good pension that I don't need to work. You know, every little bit helps, but you know, I could live without. We don't have a mortgage, we don't, you know, so it's just food and fun, really. So yeah.
Did you apply for any jobs?
Well, this one I didn't apply for. I was having coffee over at Starbucks down here, and we were chatting with my sister and one of the senior manager here heard us.
You have to explain where are we?
Island Village.
So where is this?
This is in Ocherius, Jamaica, right? And he came over and he had a chat. He said, "Oh, you're like British, aren't you? Heard the accent." So we just started chatting. So he was asking me what I did. So I told him, and then he, you know, we just chatting, and then that was it. The next time we came down, he saw us again down there. He'd have another chat. So he said, "Oh, would you be interested in working?" So I said, "I don't know, it depends what the job is, you know," and so on. I said, "I wouldn't mind get some experience of working in Jamaica. It would be interesting to see how the system works." So he said, "Send me your CV." So I sent him.
Wow.
I sent him my CV the same night. And then and then he rang me up, the guy who was in charge rang me up and had a chat, said, "Come down and see you." And he said, "Do you want to start today?" And I said, "No, not today." You know, so I started the week after. So I started here, and you know, to help them with their structures. So they asked me to help them with admin and, you know, building structures, policies, procedures, and so, because it's a new organization that's taking this over. So it's a new company, it's like 2 years old. So it was just like putting things in place for them. I wrote a handbook for the company, you know, to start get the HR things in place. So we're legal and we're complying with employment law even here, because it do exist here. And so I did all of that, and then from there they asked me to take on quite a number of different roles. So now I do most things here.
How many days a week you work?
3 days a week. So I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I have my long weekend.
Hours?
It's supposed to be 8:30 to say 4:30, generally 8 hours, but sometimes here till 6, and I don't mind.
What's life like after weekends for people back home looking at this? What do you do weekends then?
I spend a lot of time eating out, going out. I don't cook hardly.
Yeah.
I cook, you know, if I have to, but I don't have to cook.
Yeah.
So I quite like enjoying just driving and stopping somewhere and eating, or going for a coffee, or get up and go and get breakfast somewhere. So I do a lot of that. So So I'm not fussed. I don't, like Sunday everybody cook. I don't even need to do that. So I
So
just.
all those people back home at your age,
Yeah.
watching TV, nothing
In the cold.
in the cold like that.
You see, I think this is it. I think all island people needs to come back home, wherever you are, because you must have a better life. No matter how old you are, you can go out and sit in the sun. You can, it's just. I think it's a fantastic life, and all the people who are saying they won't come back because of violence, I don't know where they see it and where it's happening, other than, like I said, gang wars, like everywhere else. In every country you go, there is an element of that. And quite often, some of the violence is about relatives with each other, quite often fighting over land, family land, and things like that. So you don't find people just walking around attacking you, pinching your bag, stealing your money, breaking into your house. You don't, certainly I haven't had any experience of that. And like I say, I've never felt vulnerable anywhere. And nobody has ever really come up and be aggressive with me like that. I've never had those experiences. And this is from coming here on holiday, as well as living here now for 4 years, touch wood, and with God's help, I've been quite safe and protected, and I have never felt vulnerable, and that's for real. So all the Jamaican-born people who have gone to England and now saying they wouldn't return to their own land, I think is appalling. I really think for any person who sits there and say they're scared to come here, because it's so violent, I would like for them to tell me what their experience has been. You do find people who, family members who may want to, ask you for things and so on, but they,
Tell me the truth. What do you miss about England?
I miss, obviously, not being around the family up there, because all the family, nieces, nephews, children, they're all in England because everybody grew up there. So I miss, the family time we had with the children. I do miss Christmas in England, because it's a different experience here that, it's nice, but I think, you associate Christmas with certain things in England, right? I'm used to Christmas being a bit chilly and cold. I'm used to the coziness. I like the decoration and all of that. We have a really good family Christmas, so I miss all of that. I miss the shopping. Yeah. I do miss the shopping.
Indoor shopping.
Yeah, and the excitement of the shopping and things like that. The hustle and bustle of Christmas. There's a lot of hustle and bustle here. Mostly around Christmas Eve, where it's Grand Market night and everybody stays up. So nobody has a really good Christmas because they're all worn out from the night before, because they stay out all night and come in like must go to sleep on Christmas Day, I don't know. But we still make it special. We still decorate the house and do all of that and try and make it special. I do miss Christmas home in England.
Do you go out party or anything like that?
We do. We have. Here, sometimes there's a large society of returnees in Ochi.
Wow.
So sometimes you may find that it's difficult to relate. Sometimes the locals don't relate to you as much as you would think they would. There's a little bit of suspicious, there's a little change, difference culturally. We're different in that sense, even though we're Jamaicans and we were born here. But there is a large returnee society, and I think we do quite a lot in that group. So, there are always parties, there are always barbecues, there are always...
Each other's home?
Yeah,
okay.
Sometimes in the house, sometimes they've got local community centres that they have them in, sometimes on the beach,
This has to be a weekend?
Not necessarily. We go Thursday is a special time for us. We have parties Thursday night.
So you don't have to be like England and someone have to wait a weekend to go somewhere?
No. Sometime after I leave straight from work, straight to a party, and so we spend a lot of time, and we go to local clubs or, you know, local place like Smokehouse that has a band on a Friday night. We'll spend time there, we eat and enjoy the band and things like that. There's lots of things, there's lots of excursions that we go on, so we drive up and down the island and go to all the beauty spots, which there are a lot of. And so we do that. I do spend like time on the beach at weekends sometimes, just to do that. And so I'm never bored here.
Yeah.
I'm never bored. And even when it rains, the weather is good as far as I'm concerned, you know? So, no, I enjoy the life here. It's more relaxed, it's less stressful. And I think that's one good thing about coming back. You don't seem to have the stresses of life that you do in England. It's a fairly relaxed life, and it's laid back, and you do as much as you want to do, or as little as you feel you want to do.
What about your husband? Where is he at home?
He's here now. He was in England. He was in England for 3 years, finishing off things and so on, and he's been here over a year now, and he's got a job in one of the main hotels here, so he's doing okay. I mean, he's British, so he don't have.
Whose dream is it? Your dream or his dream?
Mine.
And he follow your dream?
Well, he know from we were getting married, I says, I'm not stopping in England, you know that.
Okay.
So it was always in my mind not to grow old in England, so.
What about him? Is he happy? If I ask him, is he happy?
I think he is. I think he seems happy, and I ask him all the time, you know, because obviously I'm Jamaican, he's not.
Okay.
But he loves it. He used to spend time here anyway, so
Okay.
it's not like he's unfamiliar.
Would you go into politics?
Would I go? Do you know? It's funny you ask that. You know, I wouldn't mind going in politics in Jamaica.
Yeah.
It can be a dangerous thing to tell me, but the first time I go out. But I just think that, I do think that here, I wouldn't say I'm the person to do it, but they do, I think they need good advisors here. I think that's lacking in Jamaica. I think they need people with good exposure and who hasn't got a vested interest in anything other than to make Jamaica a better place. And I think, you know, even not to be in politics, if I could just get a whisper in the Prime Minister's ear, you know, some of the things are so obviously, you know, to me, I look and I think that, God, you know, this could have been done so differently, or this could have been improved in such a way. Whether I'd want to go in politics or not, but I certainly wouldn't mind to be an advisor to the minister.
Oh, that's brilliant. What's the negative things about Jamaica, living in Jamaica?
Well, I think I commented on those.
Yes.
The negative thing about Jamaica is the infrastructure, and it can easily put you off. I tell you, the first year it was hard. It's hard getting, you know, things done here. So things like even building your house is quite a hard job unless you happen to find a good contractor that does everything. You know, things go up as you go along where you don't know why, and you know, so there are things like that. So the negative things is more about how things function here. In Jamaica, it's all about titles and things like that. You know, Doctor this and you know, Mr. that, and nobody called you by your first name because it's not the done thing. Things like that, I'm not into really.
Classism.
Yeah, I think there's an element of that, definitely. Yeah.
Your legacy. What would you like people to remember you by?
I don't know, a fun person, I think. You know, hardworking, helpful. I try and support as much as I can, and I'd like to think, you know, I am a good role model for my children and others, and I do spend a lot of time doing coaching and so on. I'm a qualified coach, so I do business and executive coach. I was trained and I got a diploma in that, so I do a lot of that sort of thing. I use it informally, so those yeah, that's my legacy. I think I'd like to think I've been a good role model, and I've tried a lot of things, and some I may fail at, but others I think I've done okay.
So be honest, are you happy?
I am extremely happy here. Other than when I get frustrated with those things, I'm very happy here, and I wouldn't go back to England if I can help it. It's got to be, no, I wouldn't go back to live. I'd go back, oh yeah, absolutely. I'd go back to visit. My kids are there and all of that. So I like England, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting England down in any way, but I am an island girl, and the island called me back, and here I am.
Are you living your dream?
I am living my dream, absolutely.